Good afternoon, everybody, on another Friday morning. It's Jon Fisher, Brad Shepard with Backstage in WWE. Brad, how are you? What a week we had, especially in wrestling news, because for whatever reason, the NFL playoffs stopped, so it kind of took away from the football aspect, and it completely shifted towards wrestling, even in the news portion of it. At least that was my week. How was your week?
Well, my week, football continues, but I thought this was, a big week in wrestling news.
How did No, there was no football this past weekend. Not that I saw. Did you? I didn't watch any football. Did you?
I may have seen a game or two.
Yeah, there was. I think the college athletes are doing their pro days or whatever. They're usually in February and March, leading up to the draft in April, but they moved them back to middle of January. How weird! What bad timing! Crazy kids, and their electronics and their stupid head coaching and decision making and childish antics. However, we have a show to do. Needless to say, my emotional palate has completely been destroyed after the week that I've had, but I'm glad you're doing well. At least one of us has to be. I say to put on a good show for the kids out there who are ailing like I am.
Well, there's certainly a lot of butthurt in Pittsburgh right now, so we're going to be as sensitive as possible.
I'm moving. I'm moving far away where just like whose line is it anyway? Where the money counts and the sports don't matter. San Diego.
Yeah, football hasn't mattered there for a long time.
Not since the early 90s. Or since LaDainian Tomlinson left. No, we love San Diego. The weather's beautiful. I just hope that the continent keeps that state, or else off you go.
Yeah, and who else loves San Diego is Ron Burgundy.
Did you see Will Ferrell at I think the Australian Open? He interviewed Roger Federer. It was some of the funniest stuff you'll ever hear. You just had me, and he kind of had that shtick of Ron Burgundy. I thought it was kind of funny. I thought it was good.
Yeah, he's funny. At least I think so.
Well, I thought you told me you were the funniest guy in the world, right?
Yeah, well, he's the second funniest guy.
Okay, so here we go. Raw and SmackDown this week. What were your high points? And I'm mainly talking about what happened on Monday night. There were no high points on Tuesday. At least that's what I was told. I was reading the results right before we went live. Wow. Not in a good way. Wow, I'm glad I missed it.
Yeah, I'd probably want to be high watching this. Speaking of high points, I mean, this was, a show that in Raw, that wasn't very good, and I felt the same way about SmackDown Live. The thing with Raw that's puzzling to me is you build up a match. You have this Asuka versus Nia Jax, and
pay-per-view match.
It's a pay-per-view match. Or if you're going to do it on TV to get ratings, at least, build it up. And if you're not going to, wait till the next week or two to build it up, at least, build it up throughout the show or, something.
Give us 3 promos. Give us a backstage for both, right? And then you transition from the backstage into even a vignette of Asuka's undefeated streak. And how your NXT match, which did happen once or twice. I think it was once. It was a close match. It was good. Nia was good. She lost, but she showed that she can hang with the best of them without having the most wrestling experience. And it was a good match that Nia and Asuka had. The ending was great because you can't have either of them lose right before the Rumble, but you got to build it up a little bit, right? It just kind of goes along with what you're saying.
Yeah, it was just a throwaway match. It really didn't make a lot of sense. So I didn't understand that, other than, they're just looking to fill time with something they think people would want to see, and there's really no thought behind it outside of that. Yeah, I thought maybe the best part of Raw, and that would be the Braun Strowman focus of the first hour.
Absolutely wonderful.
And it's amazing what happens when they get a believable guy like that and they book him strongly and protect him. It's amazing that people still buy into that. I think that's very telling.
Well, why? How do you not? At this point, the guy said to Kurt, "Well, f you, f your rules." What else? He threw Michael Cole without giving a damn what he was being told to do. Threw multiple security people, destroyed Kurt's mobile stand-up only office, destroyed multiple equipment backstage, babied around little midgets backstage, security guys, indie wrestlers that they brought in just for that night. And it was the guy was so over by the end of the night in a town where wrestling is not as vital, San Antonio.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, the first hour of the ratings are up pretty big.
Do you have the numbers?
Down some in the second hour, and then a lot in the third hour. I don't have the numbers. I mean, it was a drastic difference. I did read that, and you could attribute it to a couple of different things. I mean, it was the first time without football, so there's that, and but then there's the other factor of it being Braun. Is Braun a draw? Are people tuning in? Now, I can tell you from a casual audience perspective, someone like that is more likely to be a draw. And so, yeah, it's very possible. I think we'll have to stay tuned. We'll have to get a little more data before we can significantly say one way or another that is the case. But it's something to watch out for.
So let's look at the ratings and the hourly breakdown. So the first hour, you were right, with 3.5 million viewers in the first hour. They were number 3 in cable for the night.
Yeah.
So that's the second hour, 3.3 million. The third hour, 2.8. Wow.
That's a big drop off, but it's one of the highest numbers, in a long time. I mean, really.
And why do you think they tuned in? They wanted to see what the hell Braun was going to destroy next. That's all the first hour was. And no wonder people wanted to keep it coming. I don't think the game on TNT was that good on Monday night. Normally they have a decent matchup going on, but I think it was two just middle of the road teams, which is why a lot of fans stay tuned. And because you gave Braun such a big platform early on, they wanted to know what was going to happen. And they don't do that nearly enough. And it clearly worked. The numbers are showing it. And the people who will drive 2 hours to see the show, and the kids want to see Braun. That is just the most important factor of it all.
Oh, Braun loves the kids.
He does.
Yes. Yeah, so that's what I thought about Raw. It was not very good. The first hour was probably the best, but it was, for what's a 3-hour show, I mean, it was just not very good to me, and it really seemed to lack a creative effort.
Now, let's, real quick, before we get into what we thought about SmackDown, which won't take long, I promise. I was reading this week about their contract is over with NBC. Was it 2018 or 2019?
It ends in 2019. This is the last full year in 2018 of the contract, and it ends in 2019.
So the reason I bring that up is because you talked about how bad the third hour was. There are rumors coming out that if they do go to Fox and or Disney buys World Wrestling Entertainment, that you have the third hour surely won't stick around, right? It can't. I understand the advertising revenue is probably through the roof because of all the endorsements that they have, but I don't think they're going to want a 3-hour program. I've never seen a Fox show last more than 2, and I don't think wrestling is going to be the exception there.
Yeah, I would love to see Raw be 2 hours.
I would. I think everybody would.
Yeah, the only problem is they have so many guys now on the roster that they're just trying to squeeze anybody in it to use them where they can, and it's difficult to get everybody in the show. But from an entertainment standpoint, a product standpoint, it's definitely a much better show when it's 2 hours.
So let's not, cater to, oh, they need a job, they're getting paid, they might as well be on the show. No, this is just like if an NFL roster was cut in half, right? Only the good are going to survive or go get another job. And in fact, I think it would help the wrestling product as a whole, because if the WWE only has 2 hours, you can only do so much with it. Then the talented men and women that just can't make the cut, they go to the indies, and they're already good at promoting themselves. They have a name. That just makes it easier, and it draws more eyes to the product in general. You have more places to go as a fan.
Yeah, not every man can make the 53-man roster, and
that's right.
Not every actor can be in the movie. I mean, that's just life.
It is, and I don't foresee Vince McMahon doing that. I think if it's going to go down to 2 hours, they're gonna make a lot of cuts. Now, speaking of a show that deserves a lot of cuts, SmackDown. We'll just get right to the chase. Bobby Roode is your new United States champion after defeating Jinder Mahal in what I was told was a very poor match, decent in the ring storytelling, but as far as an actual wrestling match goes, I heard it was not very good. I have not watched it. But that's it. No, and talk about some of the people that were not on the show that should have been.
Well, a lot of the major stars were missing. Baron Corbin and Nakamura, who appear for the live crowd on the Mixed Match Challenge, but not on the TV product for SmackDown Live. I believe it was Kevin and Sammy and AJ Styles and I think Randy Orton. Now, some of these guys did have videotaped vignettes, but they didn't actually appear in front of the live crowd. And, for that reason, when all of your top talent aren't on a show, it's like, it's not going to be very good. And that was the case here. I thought it was one of the worst SmackDowns in a long time. And it just, was really, really poorly written, I thought. And the Bobby Roode winning the U.S. Championship, I didn't think he was the right guy to win it. But it's okay. I mean, I find him to be okay. He's not, he's a gimmick. He's a ring entrance and a chant, a crowd chant. And yeah, he's proficient in the ring, got a good look. He's not tall, but he's got a good look and a good in-ring worker. But not a lot of charisma, no great mic work. He's just, okay to me.
You're a hater.
That was fine. I mean, it was fine. I just thought, for me, I would have put the U.S. Championship on Mojo Rawley.
If they would ever let him talk the way he talks on social media, that guy can cut a hell of a promo, man. Why don't they let him do it?
Well, they are now that they see, that some of these guys like Mojo are cutting good promos on social media to promote their own stuff because creative won't let them do it. So now they've taken over the idea, except they're making them cut these scripted, selfie promos. And of course, they're terrible compared to the organic stuff that the wrestlers were doing on their own. So they've kind of taken that idea hostage and have screwed it up. So unfortunately. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I thought his promos were fantastic. The ones he did himself on social media that were unscripted. And, that's what we need to see. I thought Mojo came off high energy. And just all around, I thought in his match against Bobby Roode, he stood out more. And I think right now the title could help make Mojo Rawley, and that would be great momentum. And that's exactly what he needs. So I thought he would have been the right guy to go over.
Well, this is all leading up to another rematch between Dolph, who has not left the company, and Mr. Roode at the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, you have to believe that. And as ridiculous as it sounds, you almost have to believe that the only thing this is leading to is Dolph coming back and challenging for the U.S. Championship.
Kind of like a Punk Cena thing that they did in 2011 with Punk leaving with a belt, Cena winning the interim belt from Mysterio, and Cena catering to the crowd, saying he's the real champ, and then CM Punk comes back and says, nope, I am, leading to their match. So we'll probably have that. So we're talking about creative stifling people, right? And it's surely not going to go away anytime soon unless there's a full-scale change and or someone just gets a set of balls and says, here's what we're going to do. Raw 25 coming up in just a few days. What are you expecting from this show? We saw the star-studded lineup that they spoiled for us, because I understand you needed to get some promotion out there for the people that will be there. But talk about the guys that are and girls that are going to come back. Where do you see them having an impact? Will any of this do a damn thing to sell the Rumble? Because it's still the go home, if that's even a thing anymore.
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily going to really sell the Rumble. And I don't know that they're necessarily even going to make that attempt. But yeah, I think Raw 25th anniversary show, which really is 2 weeks too late. I think it's going to do a couple of things, right? First, it's going to be probably entertaining, much more so than the average Raw. But it's going to remind you of just how good the product and the wrestlers used to be compared to today.
Isn't it crazy?
So you're kind of default burying your own product and talent today by doing this. So that's the irony of it all. Yeah, I think, and to make matters worse, like I think you're going to see some scenarios like you're going to see the Revival come out and they're going to get squashed.
Why?
Because they want to, they want the feel good pop of the old wrestler coming out and, make it look stupid. And the old wrestler is going to go home and then they're going to have the Revival the rest of the year to work and look like total goofs. Because 50-something-year-old beat him up. Yeah, it's just not very smart booking. If I was going to do that, and sure, you bring those guys back for the anniversary show, but what's the harm in, the Revival going over on a legend who comes back to confront them?
Yeah, why not? And that's a good point. After last week's promo, it seems to me, and this is just my gut feeling, the creative hates the Revival because they don't know what to freaking do with them. Because that's exactly what they are. That promo was a complete shoot. It had so much realism in it, but I think it was too much. And I don't think the Revival are going to like where they're going this year. I really don't. Not after seeing what they just said last week.
Yeah, I'm not confident at all in their direction after what I've seen since they've returned.
And I love the Revival. They're one of my favorite tag teams ever. Their NXT stuff was terrific.
Yeah, absolutely.
10 stars. That's what you want out of a tag team. But I don't see where it's going to go. Yeah. I just don't. All right, we got to talk about it now. You know exactly where we're going with this. The big dog tried to get bigger. Like he needed to. Allegedly, yes. Let's not forget the allegedly part. So, big guy, talk about the big dog.
Well, it was very interesting because I came across a report that someone who's a fitness documentary maker named John Bravo.
Johnny Bravo. I mean, I thought it was really good. He has a great name.
Yeah. Yep. Well, so he had done an interview with Richard Rodriguez. And to make a long story short, Richard Rodriguez is in prison. He is allegedly an international steroid dealer running an international steroid ring. And was part of Wellness Fitness Nutrition and then had a gym, a very popular gym in Miami as well. So Richard Rodriguez did an interview with John Bravo and said that part of his courtroom disclosure, he said that Roman Reigns was one of his customers. So the story kind of starts to leak out, and I reached out to John Bravo myself to talk to him, and I had a brief conversation, and he's willing to talk to me. And I reached out to WWE Public Relations to try and get a comment on the story. And I posted that email on my Twitter feed at @TheBradShepard. So I got a response from WWE about 24 hours later in that ballpark. the story started to pick up momentum. ESPN picked it up, and some other outlets as well. So I got a statement that was from WWE Public Relations on behalf of Roman Reigns. It was clearly a very corporate statement that they came up with on his behalf. And, yeah. And so the statement's as follows, quote, "I have never heard of Richard Rodriguez or wellness, fitness, nutrition. I learned from the mistake I made nearly 2 years ago and paid the penalty for it. Since then, I've passed 11 tests as part of WWE's independent drug testing program," unquote. Now, you can look at that and say, sure, he's making some very specific claims. He has never heard of this person, which means he would have never met him, doesn't know him, etc. Which you would wonder, could John Bravo prove that? Through, did Richard Rodriguez give him more specifics, or, could Richard Rodriguez prove that? If he could, that would totally destroy Roman's story.
Yep.
I think the most interesting thing in these type of corporate statements is the omittance of some very important information. So when Roman says in this statement, and really it's WWE, as we all know, he's passed 11 drug tests, right? That's not a denial that you use steroids. I don't know about you, but if I didn't use steroids and someone said I did, well, my response is going to be not that I passed 11 drug tests at work. It's going to be, hey, I didn't use steroids. Oh, and by the way, I also passed 11 tests. You can pass 11 tests and still take steroids. The WWE drug testing program, right? There are things they don't test for. He could beat the test. There are things he couldn't test for. So, and that may not be the case at all, but I'm saying those are the possibilities you leave open if you give a statement saying, look, I just passed the company test.
There's a lot there, and I think there's a lot to analyze. His response, sure, it was corporate, and we knew where that was going. However, this feels a lot like the Alex Rodriguez situation, where one guy said it, and then kaboom, like a bomb exploded and got it's webbing into everything, like who A-Rod talked to in order to get the steroids, his agent, what he had to do, his dietitian, what he did, what other people that were using the same guy, they were found out as well. I'm not accusing Roman Reigns of that. I think that they lead kind of a double standard, that being World Wrestling Entertainment. You cannot tell me that Triple H is tested as much as Kurt Hawkins. Or
he's not tested at all.
Or John Cena is tested as Rusev. Roman Reigns, I will put my life savings on it, hypothetically, that he is not tested nearly as much as Randy Orton or Seth Rollins. They know exactly what they are doing. Vince McMahon is an ex-bodybuilder, or rather, wannabe bodybuilder, because he never competed. So if that's the corporate culture that he wants to create, then good. Don't be a hypocrite. Let Daniel Bryan wrestle in the Royal Rumble forever until he can't anymore physically or just doesn't want to. Because there is a double standard being set. If you're not allowing someone who may have concussion problems to wrestle, or somebody that takes steroids to wrestle. Because let me tell you one thing. Chris Benoit did take steroids and painkillers on top of doing a headbutt 1,000 times a year. But imagine if he didn't do steroids, and that's a whole other conversation, but I'm just setting a precedent. There's too much there. There's just too much there. I would believe it's true, just because this is my opinion. It's a rabbit hole I don't think that Vince or anybody there wants to go down. And let's hope that it doesn't get to that as fans of the product, because it will change a lot of stuff. It could be 07 all over again, but worse. It could be worse.
Yeah, well, speaking of Daniel Bryan, he went from 66-1 odds to 9-1 or 10-1 odds on most betting sites to actually win the Royal Rumble.
I'll call BS to that, only because just a week ago, Triple H was asked in an interview about Daniel Bryan, and he flat out said why he wasn't wrestling or allowed to. I don't like the timing. I just think I don't know. I don't like. Daniel Bryan's not going to wrestle, or would they have built something up by now? You know, or at least alluded to the fact that he could enter the Rumble.
Well, I think part of the problem is they are kind of alluding to it in story. The only true payoff we could see in the story with Shane McMahon would be a match with Shane McMahon. So that's part of the problem, is the story they're telling doesn't make any sense. You know, it's kind of like when they built the story with Miz and Daniel Bryan on SmackDown Live and through the Talking Smack. You know, what was the payoff? Where could they go with it? I mean, it was great, but what was the end game? And so they have the same problem here, where it's dominating the SmackDown Live TV product, but where does it end? Because if you can't wrestle, what's the payoff? Yeah, I don't think he's going to wrestle at the Royal Rumble. That's my opinion. I don't have any information that he is. And, you know, the odds could have shifted for different reasons. I mean, the Vegas odds are always very, very accurate. But, yeah, I don't see it. I mean, you know, if people were betting on him, then the odds would have to be raised or etc. There's different ways that the odds could have been raised. But I don't think he's going to wrestle at the Royal Rumble. That's my opinion.
Isn't it really interesting, though, that Vegas has been right a lot lately in the last few years?
Yeah.
Why is that? Why have they been right?
Well, I mean, they're obviously getting inside information. There's big money at stake, and they're obviously getting information from people in WWE.
I find it so odd, you know, why that's happening. I don't think he's going to do it. I don't see. It would have happened already. I think he would have been announced for a match already if he was really going to go back. Just one man's thought.
Yep.
Now, if you want to talk about somebody going back, we know, and we're going to shift gears a little bit to the UFC very quickly, because I told Brad we're not talking about the NFL. I'm not doing it because the season got canceled after last Sunday. McGregor, who took the world by storm, fighting Floyd Mayweather in the boxing ring, he was stripped of his UFC lightweight title after many, many, many months of inactivity. He apparently didn't follow the 30-day rule the WWE has set forth. How do you like that one? Tony Ferguson and Khabib Nurmagomedov, I butchered that, I know, I'm sorry, for the undisputed title in April. Even after Conor said he would come back? You find that a little odd.
Yeah, well, so Dana White has publicly said that, you know, time is ticking, that he's not going to let Conor McGregor hold the lightweight title hostage. And so now this Russian news outlet is reporting that he has allegedly been stripped of the title and that this fight will take place for the undisputed title at UFC 223. Certainly something very interesting to follow, but you know, Conor McGregor, I think he's seen that payday. He's seen that boxing payday, which is just miles ahead of what he's making in UFC. And, you know, he's looking at his next moves, not his next fights in UFC.
Right now I'm looking up to see what Conor McGregor makes per fight. How about this? This is according to Forbes. Reputable source. Mayweather's career earnings before Saturday night's fight with UFC champ Conor McGregor totaled approximately $700 million. Some insiders believe that Mayweather earned over $300 million for his fight against Conor McGregor. So if he won $300 million for winning that fight, you got to think that, because I don't have the numbers in front of me. What do you think he made in that fight ballpark? Like $50 million, $75 million just for fighting in it?
Oh, it was a huge amount of money. Yeah, it was
75 mil. I'm keep scrolling down here. So he made 75 mil in one fight. The UFC, and I've been watching the UFC since UFC 100. There's no way he makes nearly that much in a year.
Oh, it's not even. It's a peanut of that.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're talking millions of dollars here. So let's not get carried away. The guy could make more wrestling 3 nights a year in WWE than,
he absolutely could.
than fighting 3 times a year. And you're not killing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I think John Cena made like $12 million last year in WWE.
I think he wrestled 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, you do the math. The top guy, yeah, I mean, he's going to make a lot more money, fake fighting than
real fighting. Yeah, Khabib's excellent. Tony's excellent. I've seen them both fight. Very sound. Khabib's one of my favorite fighters. The guy is electric. He's exciting. Tony has all the intangibles. So that fight's going to be tremendous. I want to see the winner of that to take on Conor. Whatever the hell that's going to happen. Good for Dana, who doesn't let Conor boss him around. He's your number one draw, but there are guys that are starting to do like Ngannou, who's fighting Stipe Miocic this weekend. Tomorrow, actually, for the heavyweight championship. He's starting to become a name. And Stipe is a name, too. So they have that going for them. I know Ronda's gone. I know Anderson Silva's, he's on his way out. But you have the whole middleweight controversy with Bisping. And the Vitor and Uriah Hall fight, if I'm recalling that correctly, that got canned. So they may do Vitor and Bisping again. UFC has a long way to go, and this is their 25th anniversary. You need Conor to fight. If he doesn't want to, get him the hell out. Let him go. You're not going to miss much. You'll miss a big pay-per-view, but just one. You can earn that back.
Yeah. Yeah,
At least I think they can. If they get rid of their stupid Reebok sponsorship, boy, did that really screw them. I'm rambling to myself. Were you watching the UFC when that happened? That Reebok sponsorship?
Yeah, it was just really a stupid move. Yeah, I've been watching UFC since the first one.
Have you really?
90. Yep.
Oh man! Yep. But Dan Severn, Hoist Gracie, right? UFC 1?
Yeah, Hoist Gracie is my all-time favorite UFC fighter. Or
is he?
MMA fighter. Yeah. He sure is.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of the Iceman Chuck Liddell.
Loved him. He's great.
Yeah.
Were you a fan of Randy Couture until Brock Lesnar kicked his ass?
Yeah, I liked him. I was a bigger fan of his opponent, Brock Lesnar. Maybe you've heard of him.
He has a big belt buckle that he wears around a couple times a year. I don't know. It's big and red. It's obnoxious.
It's ugly. Yeah.
Well, we have new blood in the WWE. One guy I know you don't like. That's for damn sure. That man, for those who enjoy independent wrestling, is Ricochet or Prince Puma in Lucha Underground. Brad's favorite wrestler because of his high-flying antics and extreme athleticism and his ability to not tell a story. Brad's favorite. That's what he looks for in a wrestler. He's coming along with War Machine, a really good tag team, Big Heavy Bruisers, and Candice LeRae, the wife of Johnny Gargano. Great wrestler. Will do very well. But let's talk about Ricochet, Brad. Come on. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. What can he do?
Well, he's a high flyer, and I think he's got a good physique for being a cruiserweight, and that's really what he is. And I don't mean that as an insult. Just he's under 200 pounds, and
is that confirmed?
Oh, it's confirmed. Yeah, he got on the scale and we recorded it. I mean, he's under 200 pounds.
Oh my! You know what? You know what's really funny? According to Wikipedia, his name is Trevor Mann with 2 N's because he's a real man.
He's a real man. Yeah.
29 years old from Paducah, Kentucky, and I hate to say this, he is 5'10".
No, he's not. He's definitely not 5'10". He's close to it, but he's not 5'10", and he's certainly under 200 pounds.
197 pounds is his build weight.
Yeah, he's less than that for sure. Look, he's phenomenal in the ring. I mean, he really is. I thought he was, just really impressive as Prince Puma at Lucha Underground in ring. and he can knock it out on the indies. I mean, you've seen a lot of his matches, and just really super athlete in the ring.
But
he would be a great cruiserweight style, but he's a cruiserweight, and that's the challenge going into WWE, right? I mean, in NXT, he'll be fine. There's no cruiserweight division. But when it comes to the main roster, if that's where he's going eventually, then, he's got to be on 205 Live. I mean,
he does.
Do you disagree?
No, I don't. He's Evan Bourne. Right? Am I wrong?
You have to. I mean, you put that guy next to, Braun Strowman or Roman Reigns or you name it. I mean, they're going to dwarf him, and
he's short.
Yeah, I think he's a phenomenal talent, but I think he's a phenomenal talent for 205 Live.
I'm gonna go out on a huge limb. The guy is almost 30. He's actually dating or engaged to Tessa Blanchard, Tully Blanchard's daughter.
Yep.
He wants a payday to set up a family with an easier schedule.
Oh, sure.
There's nothing wrong with that. There is certainly nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
As long as he's willing to accept what his role will be in the company, it's okay.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm glad you said that he's a very good athlete and a good wrestler. I'm glad you admitted that. I know your feelings towards small guys. You stomp on them, emotionally and physically.
I don't mean to. They're just so small that I'm so big I accidentally do it. Just to be clear.
All right, big guy. Let's talk about another big guy. Goldberg. Dave Meltzer broke the story about a month ago, saying that Goldberg would be the first entrant into the Hall of Fame class of 2018, and he was right. Imagine that. And I'm sure the veins popping out of your neck right now. All right. I'm messing with Brad. Carry away.
Yeah, so Goldberg has been in talks with New Japan Wrestling.
Yes.
To come in on a part-time basis for their big shows. And I would say nothing is likely to happen anytime immediately soon, just because of the WWE Hall of Fame. But they're interested in the old Goldberg, and I just thought, man, what a mismatch that is.
Why? What would he do?
I don't know what he's going to do. I mean, is he going to wrestle 30 minutes with Naito or Takahashi or Okada or
no?
I mean, the guy can only go 4 minutes.
He can wrestle Jericho.
He can wrestle Jericho in a 4-minute squash or something. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see it as a match.
Me neither. I don't either. Did he ever wrestle in Japan before?
I don't think so. At least I don't remember him ever wrestling in Japan. I think it was, he did football and then, started in the big leagues in America. So I don't think he did.
Let's see.
But I just think his style is a better fit to, the big leagues in America. And I just don't see it being a fit for, New Japan at all. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't.
So he did. For 1 year. I don't think it even lasted a whole year. Let's see. So he left WCW in 2001. His contract was going to expire in 2003. As we all know, WCW did not last that long. So in 2002, Goldberg suffered an arm injury in the Toyota Pro at the Long Beach Grand Prix in April of 2002. In August of 2002, he came back in Japan, and he initially joined All Japan Pro Wrestling. He was with Kojima and Kia. He defeated them both, and then he went on to beat Rick Steiner in a match for the W1 promotion. He teamed up with Muto. This is really getting deep into the Japanese wrestling history. And I love how this is worded in Wikipedia, and I quote, his success in Japan led to the WWF.
That's too funny. Okay, so yeah, it's kind of like New Japan is the big dog over there. So, yeah.
He'll wrestle Kenny Omega, and Omega will sell for him for 20 minutes. Maybe that's.
I mean, yeah, he'll die in the ring after 4 minutes. I mean, it's just not going to work over there. The New Japan in-ring style is just not going to match with what Bill Goldberg can do, especially a Bill Goldberg who's the age that he is. I mean, I agree. That's just the reality.
I agree. 100%. 100%. Let's get to a couple of news notes here. Since, again, we're not talking about the NFL playoffs, I have moved on. And it's not like I can move to a baseball team because my baseball team can burn in the pits of hell for all I care. A couple of notes. Injuries. And I think that's the big theme here. So before we get to the current roster, Kevin Nash, did you hear this, Brad? He is pulled out of Raw 25. He's still recovering from his 18th quad surgery. We wish him all the best.
Texting's dangerous.
It is. He was texting and then walking to the bathroom, and it pulled. I'm sure you heard him scream, and now he's on. I do hope he's okay. I really do. But 18 quad surgeries, man, that's a lot of labor on that one limb. So on to the main roster, folks that are currently dealing with injuries. Paige, who's very, very serious. Samoa Joe, Jason Jordan, Kevin Owens. Let's get down to the bottom of this. So we'll start with Paige, whose career could be over, as we know.
It's very sad, and you don't want to focus too much on the blame game, but there is a theme here, and so it has to be addressed. I watched the match where Paige suffered the injury, where they had to stop it, and which led to her career probably being over. And
who was at fault?
Sasha kicking her as hard as she could, basically, in the back. I mean, it was just irresponsible and sloppy and dangerous. And, someone's got to tell these guys. And when I say guys, that's just a general gender-neutral statement for girls and guys. But someone's got to tell them that this is a work. It's a work. It is a fake fight. It is the goal of your existence to make it look real while not actually hurting your opponent.
Suspended reality.
And it just seems like, you know what? The harder we can slap the shit out of the other person, it's the Japanese wrong style.
We know that Braun can't flip over a semi-truck or maybe an ambulance. Depends how heavy the ambulance is. But he can't lift a semi-truck. We know that. We know that Rey Mysterio could never pin the Big Show or the Great Khali. We know that, but we keep that aside. We don't factor that in to what it is when it's a show. It's a male soap opera or females. It's male or female soap opera. We fall in love with the story and the theatrics in the ring. I don't care personally if Sasha, who's a mark for herself and a bonehead, if she can do a nice drop kick and nail someone in the spine. Cool. I don't care. I just want to see.
But John, she's the boss.
Oh yeah, she's the boss of miss opportune kicks.
Can anybody tell me? And if you are listening to this show, you can tweet this to me as well. What exactly does that mean? What is she the boss of? Can anybody tell me?
Everyone else. She's the boss of everyone else. So, and now, I don't think if Paige sustained the injuries that she has, that this would even be close to a career ender. But 25, she's been wrestling for 10 years at the age of 25. Why take the risk? That's my question. And the answer isn't just, well, because she can. No, that's not it. There isn't a good answer. Don't take the risk. If you're one injury away from a wheelchair, why do you think Edge stopped wrestling? He was smart. He was 37. Now he can walk, have a kid, 2 kids, a wife, a family, a life. He can act. Now, imagine if he's like, one more. Spear, fell on his neck, paralyzed. You just don't know.
Yeah, and she has the same injury as Edge, too. It's spinal stenosis.
And Sheamus. He's dealing with it, too.
One wrong bump, and you're paralyzed.
Yeah, that's right. But to have it at 25.
It's like, yeah, and for what? For a throwaway match that nobody cared about. Let's be honest.
It was a house show. It wasn't WrestleMania, man. You weren't main eventing Mania, okay?
I just don't get it. Like, if you're going to do the big spot, the dangerous spot, save it for WrestleMania in a high-profile match or something, at least.
Yeah, but it wasn't even a big move. It was a drop kick to the back.
It was just sloppy. It was like, let's hit her hard. I don't get it. Could you imagine you're shooting a movie and there's a fight scene, and the actors or these stunt doubles doing the fight scene decide they're going to legitimately hit each other to make it look as real as possible?
Stupid.
Of course it's stupid. They would be fired
or dead.
I don't get it. Like, it's a simulated fight. What's the difference? You make it look real without it actually being real, without you actually hurting the person. And, that's something that an experienced worker should be able to do.
You're right. Now let's get to that. Samoa Joe, Jason Jordan, and Kevin Owens are all injured. Joe is out until mid-March, right before WrestleMania. Jordan and Owens are working hurt. What's happening there? I think with Joe, it's just bad luck. He's a very safe wrestler.
Well, I think I think they're losing faith in Samoa Joe.
I do too.
I think that's probably the end of the road for his, big push. Because every time they give him one, he gets injured. So, Vince's thought is, he's injury prone. We can't rely on him. So I think, he'll suffer for that. But I think the larger point here is the discussion about the in-ring style of WWE and how it is creating more injuries than ever before. And I think that's got to change.
Or reduce the schedule. House shows, they're a waste of money and a waste of time. Who cares?
Yeah, I would love to see them reduce the schedule. They're just not going to do that because it's a publicly traded company and their goal is to make as much money as possible. And so for that reason, they're not going to do that. So within the parameters of what they can do while still keeping the most profit, that would be changing the in-ring style to make it more safe and reduce injuries. Stop doing the Japanese wrong style. Yeah, you look at the work, and yes, it's advanced. You look at the work of some of the veterans of yesteryear in the golden era, the attitude era. These guys were legitimate-looking tough guys, but they could work in a snug and very safe way where people generally weren't injured. Yeah, and today, in these throwaway matches, you have guys doing 30 flips and taking all these dangerous bumps flying in the middle. I cringe every time I see Big E at probably close to 300 pounds go flying through the ropes doing a tope.
Or Seth Rollins doing anything, and I love Seth Rollins
doing anything. Yeah, he's like, the minute they said, "Yeah, you're going to do a program with Seth Rollins," I'd say, "No, thanks, Jeff."
Yeah, it's not good. It's not working. I don't know what. Again, my thought is they should just reduce the schedule. I know that's not feasible right now. I know, But until these people are stop being marks for themselves, Sasha will not wrestle. How old is good old Sasha? How old is she? Sasha's 25. She will not wrestle past 30. I guarantee you.
She's destroying her body. I don't see it.
I don't either. Now, someone like Carmella will. Someone like Charlotte will.
Yep.
Natalya.
That's the whole goal. I mean, this is what everybody's losing sight of. As you know, this is what fans lose sight of. Okay, imagine you have to stop working at 30 years old, and that's how you make money. Imagine you have to stop your job at 30 years old because you're injured.
It's a life killer.
What are you supposed to do? The bills don't stop coming in. You still have to make a living, and you still have a lifestyle to upkeep. So your whole goal, this is a job, is to make money. It's to make money, to have a certain lifestyle, and to pay your bills. And you want to do that as long as possible.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? By not being stupid. That seems pretty logical to me. I don't understand what the disconnect is.
So right now, this is thanks to What Culture. And before we sign off tonight, let's go through the list of injuries right now to the main roster as far as we know. Paige, we already talked about her. Her career may be over. We don't know yet. I hope it's not for her sake. Brian Kendrick, due back next month or two. Broken nose, right? The bad GTS by Hideo Itami. That could have been avoided. Page one could have been avoided. Ciampa, that was a freak accident. He should be back this month, probably at NXT Philly. But normally the guy's healthy. It was in a big match, and he suffered an injury. So the Big Show, well, hip problem. We know that. He's probably retiring. He deserves to. Let's see. Another one. Big Cass. Torn ACL. Bad move coming off the top rope. No one that tall should be doing anything off the top rope or going over the, even on the apron and just coming over. No one should be doing that move when you're that tall. Weak knees. He'll be out till May or June. He was having a monster heel push. Completely thwarted. Noam Dar, back April or May. Tore his meniscus. Not safe. Drew McIntyre, fluke accident. He should be back Mania weekend. But he's, Brad, before I continue, he's one of the, Ciampa and McIntyre are one of the few that just unlucky breaks. They're normally safe guys. Am I wrong?
Yeah, normally safe. It's inherently dangerous to do this already. So why increase the odds of injury by doing something unnecessarily stupid?
Now, let me ask you this. Why do you think indie wrestlers don't get hurt as often as WWE's wrestlers?
Well, first of all, you've got guys doing these moves who are 170 pounds, okay, in the indies. These are not like the athletes you see in WWE, the high-performing big athletes in WWE. So just naturally a big guy, a big muscular guy doing that as opposed to a 170-pound, skinny, fat indie worker who, will never make it. I mean, they're just inherently going to be safer in that regard. The schedule.
Yeah.
You've got WWE and they're out there 250 nights a year doing this. No off time. A lot of these indie guys, they're working on the weekends.
Yeah. Or, and for the bigger ones like Cody or even like Japanese wrestlers, once a week, maybe once or twice every 2 weeks. So they're working 100 nights a year, which is okay, right? Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, it's still significantly less, but it is reasonable. But Cody's never wrestled like, some crazy flippity-doo style either.
Except his big, what was it? The, not Swanton, but the
moonsault.
Yeah. So one big spot in your career, you can take it. Jeff Hardy, I don't even need to get into why he got hurt. Ridiculous. Kalisto, I'm not going to put that on him. Dean Ambrose, normally a very safe worker, one of the few safe that they have. Freak accident, he should be back by Mania.
Well, Sheamus is another liability in the ring.
Yeah, he is. He certainly is. Edge
think,
talked about it on his podcast a month ago.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I mean, once or twice, you could call it a coincidence. 3 times is a pattern.
Yeah.
And I just think, this guy he's just unsafe in the ring.
Jason Jordan, who is now hurt, didn't work weekend dates. He didn't wrestle on Raw. So we know there's a reason why. Jordan's usually, with his old style, was good. Now being featured more prominently, he is more susceptible to injury. And there's nothing you can do about it. Samoa Joe is one we talked about, and then Kevin Owens. Do we even know what happened to him? And if he's going to even be okay? The Sammy and Kevin show is the reason a lot of people are watching Tuesday nights. They don't have him.
Not me. I'm frankly stunned that those 2 guys are in the main event of any show in WWE.
Man, you're not making friends.
Yeah, I have a tendency to do that. Yeah, this whole honesty thing, doesn't work out well for a lot of people. They're not ready to hear it. But yeah, I am. I just don't get it. Those are guys that I would expect to see on indie shows.
Oh boy, man, villain, Brad the villain this evening. But from a human perspective, I hope that they all heal and they're fine, and it's rainbows and unicorns. Especially for the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, you don't want a guy to miss or a girl to miss that show. It's the biggest 2 of the biggest shows of the year.
Yeah, none of this is personal. This is all business and personal opinions as fans and journalists.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I say, look, Kevin and Sammy could be 2 of the nicest people in the world, and you know what, maybe they are, although I have to say I've been told that they're not very well liked by the locker room and on the SmackDown Live roster. But, I don't know. Who knows? It has nothing to do with that. They could be the nicest people in the world, but that's just my opinion of their work. And like everybody else, I have an opinion, and it means nothing, and so it's fine. I just don't see it. I don't get it, and I think Sammy, in the character of the unlikable heel, does a good job. So there's strengths to both of them, but I just don't get the biggest wrestling company or sports entertainment, whatever you'd like to call it, in the world, using its TV to promote those 2 in a main event picture. I just don't get it.
Well, the crowd likes them, so they do what they got to do. And who knows? Maybe they'll be injured in the next week together. Because it's if you put your money on a guy getting hurt, you're probably going to win some money, and it's unfortunate.
They got to change the style.
You're right, and to end the show, here's what we're going to change. The NFL playoff system. So here's what we're going to do. I think to end the program, let's get a petition. Right now there are almost 50,000 people trying to get the Pirates owner out of a job. Okay. So we're going to go back to last week. We're going to turn back time, as the famous song told us. Blake Bortles is going to have the flu. He will survive and be fully healthy on Monday. So nothing happens. Todd Haley, the former offensive coordinator for the Steelers, actually would have drank out of the same cup on accident at a bar, because Todd Haley and his wife love to go to bars together to meet other people. He'll drink out of the same drink, and they'll both get sick, and they'll miss the game. What do you
mean to meet other people?
Oh, they're swingers. You didn't know that?
No, I can't say I've kept up on the sex life of the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers, to be honest.
Former. No, that was and I'm not interested in that. It came out in the news, and I work in the news. How can I ignore it?
Yeah, you probably thought that was a good avenue to do some investigative reporting.
Yeah, you're right. His wife starts bar fights, and he starts fights among fans because he's an idiot. Now, this week I pick the Patriots to beat the Jaguars and Minnesota to beat Philly because I want to see Case Keenum beat Tom Brady at home in the Super Bowl because that'd be so damn cool. And I do like Brady. I do. I'm on the record as saying that. But for the first team to ever host a Super Bowl, I kind of want to see them win.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I'll pick the Pats and the Vikings as well. And I think the Pats defense is going to solve that case.
The case of Blake Bortles or Case Keenum?
Case Keenum.
We'll see.
In the Super Bowl. Okay. With the knife in the Astrodome or whatever the hell it's called.
What do they call it? I used to know every stadium name. Viking stadium name. Am I going to be right? The Minneapolis Dome? U.S. Bank Stadium. Close enough. I like Minneapolis Dome better. All right. However, Twitter, tell us, all of us.
Okay, you can follow me at the Twitter at the Brad Shepard, SHEPARD. You can visit my website and keep up with all my latest work, thebradshepard.com. And that's about it.
So if you're listening to us on by the way, I'm at John. I confuse everything way too easily. I'm at Jon Fisher TV on Twitter. So follow me there. We can chat. If you're listening to this on Friday, last night, you missed a heck of a Fallon with the New Day. And an interesting segment with Triple H, the boss, if you will. No, not Sasha. Someone who doesn't like to hurt people. This tweet from Jimmy Fallon. Have you ever wanted to see Triple H sing Moana? Tonight's the night. New show starts at 11:35. So I suggest you guys go. First of all, go to SoundCloud and iTunes and subscribe and rate and review, and then follow us both on Twitter, and then go to YouTube and watch Triple H sing Moana songs. If you love Disney, it's a can't miss.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait till this guy takes over. Jesus.
Hey, if the company gets bought by Disney, we're a step ahead of the company, man. It's going to happen.
He's already trying out singing the Disney song, so
you're right.
I guess it'll work out.
It's a good job interview. Is there anything you want to say to the people before we sign off?
Yeah, I know you asked me that last week, and I'm also drawing a blank this week. I just want you to follow me on Twitter. That's it. And you do that, and I think that's really all I need.
Okay, again, you're going to follow us on SoundCloud and iTunes, rate, review, and subscribe to all of you. Wrestling News Hub on Facebook. You can watch me review Raw, Thoughts from the Bench. I do the same thing there. We have some fun. Come and join that fun. And we'll see you next week with Royal Rumble predictions, NXT Philly predictions. And we'll see how happy Brad is if his football team loses. Maybe next week football won't exist to him, just like it didn't exist for me this week.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see you all next week. Enjoy your times, everybody, and stay healthy. We'll see you then.
Yeah.